Hey readers, this is Reading Roleplay. Today we're going to be looking at Fluxfall Horizon. It's a TTRPG from Dave Thaumavore. This is the Quickstart version, but I believe it's most of the game. I'm going to cover here with our logo. I like the cover. I like the array of characters we have. I think the logo could be a little better, and I think we could have maybe sort of some kind of a parallel world motif, might kind of be a little more informative for anyone seeing this for the first time. So we've got our credits page, inspirations, playtesters, special thanks. Yeah, and here we go. It's a free playtest version. Does not include all the final artwork. A few other elements are also excluded that will be in the final commercial version. Tables of contents here. What I assume is the prelude or the introduction. In a nutshell, what this is. This is a Parallel Earths role-playing game. A game master and one or more players sit at a table or gather in a virtual space and simulate the adventures of player character plane travelers or lancers from 2390 who have to scramble to solve episodic situational problems in various alternate versions of Earth. As lancers tumble through worlds due to the malfunctioning Flux Tech device, they are expected to survive the environment through each jump or Fluxfall. If they fail to do so, both they and the Continuum take damage. Well, if they fail to survive, and over time, it can prevent them from ever returning to their home Earth. Yeah, because they'd be dead. So if they're expected to survive through each jump, if they fail to do so they fail to survive, then yeah, they definitely won't be returning to their home Earth. Then we got the I guess obligatory. What is a role playing game? Yeah, it's not the greatest start. For one thing, saying this is how about Fluxfall Horizon is a role playing game of traveling to parallel Earths. Yeah, I don't know. It's clunky. I know we're introducing a lot of concepts. You might want to have one paragraph that just has sort of the meta overview of what's going on, and then have another paragraph that's like the sort of the in-world. In the world of 2390, Lancers are dispatched to parallel worlds using flux text devices that allow them to jump into endless environments. Whatever. Okay, let's look at this. What is a role-playing game? Fluxfall Horizon is tabletop role. Okay, see, there you go. That probably should have been your first sentence there. And so this is a Parallel Earth role-playing game. Fluxfall Horizon is a tabletop role-playing game. Parenthetically, TTRPG. The definition for these games has been expanded rapidly in recent years. Okay, but this game is solidly one kind of TTRPG, a collaborative storytelling exercise comprised of a game master and one or more players. Both the GM and players are expected to be familiar with the rules in this game, but their roles diverge from there. The GM describes the world to the players as well as the words and actions of any characters in that world who are not controlled by a player. You might want to say NPC if you're going to use that term. They describe how the world changes in reaction to Lancer words and actions. Lastly, they adjudicate the rules of the game. The players are responsible for delivering their Lancer's words and actions in either first person, role playing, or third person, narrating. Within any given scene or of the collaborative story. They are also responsible for the occasional dice roll to resolve a move, and the management of their Lancer's abilities, stats, and inventory on a paper or virtual sheet. That's very clumsy. A lot of times these people just skip these sections, and rightly so, because this is probably not a game. This is a Powered by the Apocalypse game from a YouTube creator. I don't think this is going to be anybody's first game, so a lot of this are just it's going to make sense to them, but it's really not being explained very well. If you're going to do this, I almost feel like at this point you can just go, hey, you already know what a role-playing game is. I'm not going to explain it. If you need to know, here's some resources, Yeah. I mean, for one thing, if you're going to do what is a role playing, you need to be like, player characters, GMs, like define all those things. And then we go to Apocalypse Engine. Apocalypse Engine RPGs are narratively driven games. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone call it an Apocalypse Engine. Powered by the Apocalypse, yes. PBTA. Are narratively driven games. Narratively driven games that rely on everyone at the table making the story together in conversational fashion. Dice rolls are made only when the lancers trigger a move. Anytime there is a move, the lancer rolls 2d6 and adds any modifiers. That sum is the final roll and can either be a miss, partial success, or a success. The overall look and feel of the game is that of people having a conversational exchange to establish and resolve points in a story from scene to scene. The overall look of the game? You mean like from someone peeking into the room where you're playing? This game looks like you're having a conversational exchange. The overall look of the game. Yeah, I'm not sure why. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but Apocalypse Engine. I don't. For one thing, if I'm unfamiliar with that, I would probably have something like this. This game uses the Apocalypse World rule set, also known as being powered by the Apocalypse, and blah blah blah. Like, tell me what that is, because I don't know. If I don't know what that is, I'm totally lost at this point. So there's other Apocalypse Engine RPGs. Okay. How a game of Fluxfall looks. Okay, that's a game of Fluxfall Horizon by default is structured like this. First, there is an initial jump or lance to another Earth. Every character starts with their own. Typo there. With their own secret objective. The trip is supposed to take the team to a specific parallel Earth and then return them. It's supposed to. Okay. I would say the trip is okay. Okay, hang on. So we've got a lance, a jump, or a trip. First, there's an initial jump or lance to another Earth. Got it. Okay, so we're traveling via some kind of technology to another Earth. Don't know what that technology is yet. Every character starts with their own secret objective. The trip is supposed to take the team to a specific parallel Earth and then return them. So the objective of the lance is to transport the team to a specific parallel Earth and then return them once their mission's complete. Because I mean, as that's written, it's just like, okay, we're here at this parallel Earth, bring us back. 2-second trip. Immediately things go wrong. The first Earth never quite what the team of Lancers had originally planned. I got another typo. The first Earth is never quite what the team of Lancers had originally planned. Okay. The device that lances them, the quantum puck, displays a goal. This device displays specific information on a specific local problem the team is expected to solve, different from the original mission. Okay. It's kind of a quantum puck. This is Quantum Leap, right? It's Quantum Leap sliders. Okay. Again, if I didn't know those shows, I might be confused. It's hard to tell. The team can damage the continuum. Okay, what's the continuum? What is the continuum? We don't know. Continuum, I assume, is the expected time that the multiverse, maybe, or the timeline of that planet, because they're parallel Earths. Not sure. The team can damage the continuum with failed flux text rolls and sloppy lances. Damage triggers change and chaos to the environment around them. A session will end with some finality if it's a one-shot. I would say it would definitely end with a lot of finality if it's a one-shot. Or on a cliffhanger if it's a continuing series. You might want to introduce the term campaign at that point, right? Explain that in your what is a role-playing game section. A finale session, or a one-shot, involves exposing each Lancer's secret objective and resolving them in one way or another. The key point to the story's direction is the fact that there are layers of motivations. Wow. The GM's greater The GM's greatest compass are the shared team goal and each Lancer's secret objectives. I'm not sure what that means. Agendas will often conflict. Returning home is really just one thing the Lancer may want. Okay. So all this stuff is spread around. I think this could be really tightened up. Like you have a section like every Lancer has an agenda. And we could move some of these sentences around, plug them in there. Like that's kind of one of the things. I don't know if this section really does what it says it's supposed to do. I guess our structure is we go someplace, things go wrong, we have a device that tells us what we need to fix to get home. And again, the only reason I'm thinking about that is because I know what a Quantum Leap episode's like and what a Sliders episode's like. Uh, hmm. GM's greatest compass are the shared team goal and each Lancer's secret objectives. Each Lancer's secret objective. Because you have one, right? You have one secret objective per Lancer. Okay. The Flux Lancer. For 10 exciting years, only a few hundred people have ever gotten the chance to step through the so-called Fluxfall horizon. Oh, okay. So there's a thing called a Fluxfall horizon. That probably should have been in the introduction. And experience alternate Earths. Experience them. And travel to alternate Earths. Travel to parallel Earths. And now, billionaire tourists as well as hapless civilians have been added to the mix. Lancers are all represented in the game as types. There are 5 factions with 2 types. Okay, and where do we learn about these? Okay. This is very disorganized, in my opinion. Respect and empathy. TTRPGs are played by every walk of life, and everyone carries with them their own sensitivities and traumas. Here are some tips on how to be a participant who prioritizes respect and empathy towards your fellow gamers, to play safely. Okay. Lines. Establishing some boundaries before beginning a game session so that certain subjects are not broached in play. How do we do that? Okay. X card. Showing an X on a written card. Piece of paper or in the chat log anytime the collective narration veers into a concept, idea, or topic that is uncomfortable or worse to one of the game's participants. So that participant would do that, right? Okay. Veil. The concept of fading to black on a scene's description instead of describing it in detail until it's very end. The concept. Okay. Script change. Pausing the story and openly discussing how to move forward or change the plot in order to avoid overly serious, uncomfortable, or traumatic elements. Nope out. Sometimes discomfort, pain, and trauma is known beforehand and can be squared away with lines. Sometimes it can emerge during play and a participant needs to use another tool. Sometimes they just need to walk away from the game completely. Oh shit, that's it. Okay. These aren't really tips. You're kind of partially defining some safety tools. I don't think you actually use the term safety tools here, though. You know, a lot's been said and written about safety tools. I think you could probably have cribbed most of that. This isn't really going to help anyone who's not familiar with what a safety tool is. That's odd. Number 1, rules. What you need to play. This is a tabletop role-playing game. Okay, yeah, I think we've established that. You will need. There is one person. What? You will need. There is one person who will game master the game, the GM. They coordinate the basic arc and keep things rolling. One or more. Okay. So so you probably want to say someone. You will need someone who will volunteer to be the GM. What they do is this, that, and the other. Okay. Number 2, one or more players. The sweet spot is 3 or 4, since you have enough of a dynamic team for problem solving and dramatic tension. But it's not so many that no one gets enough spotlight. 2 6-sided dice. Preferably every player has their own set. Printouts of all the play sheets being used. Pencil and blank paper. Or, obviously, virtual since that was mentioned before. Laptops, iPads, whatever. GM optional. GM worksheets for tracking Lancers, Earths, and put rights. I don't know what that is. I don't know what a put right is. Items 3 to 6 can be entirely digital if you're playing on a virtual table. Oh, okay, got it. I covered it. Okay. The game is about having an ongoing conversation about an adventure. The players rarely ask the GM if they can do something. They just tell everyone that their character is doing it. If it's something mundane, it is simply part of the story. If it's something challenging, difficult, or encroaching on another character or the environment in any way, it needs to be rolled on through a move. Just like in a movie, the story at the table should jump from scene to interesting scene. Scenes themselves can be prompted by the players as long as there is general agreement at the table. Sometimes the GM will commit to a hard scene framing, where a specific scene needs to be hashed out in order to move the story forward. A prime example of a hard scene framing in this game is the Fluxfall itself, the moment when the quantum hub counts down to 0 seconds and it transports all the Lancers to the next parallel Earth. Play to find out. There is no way to prep an adventure for this game beyond plotting out the broadest details of each given parallel Earth and the setup for each local problem to be solved. It is up to the players to solve the problems of the world they are in, and any experienced GM knows to never underestimate player creativity and ingenuity when it comes to problem solving in an imagined world. A common refrain from the GM in these types of games is, "What do you do?" This is a constant invitation and a reminder that the players make the story. Anytime there is uncertainty with both the GM and the players, then by design, it is the dice that make the call, but the interpretation is handed either to the player or the GM, the latter of whom will almost always then ask, "What do you do?" Anytime there's uncertainty with both the GM and the players, then by design it's the dice that makes the call. Okay. The latter of whom will almost always ask, "What do you do?" That's so if we come into a situation and I'm like, I'm going to jump this gap, right? Oh, it's, I don't know if you can make it. Well, let's let the dice decide. Okay. We make a move, roll a dice. I do it. I'm successful. And I decide that, say I decide that as a player, then the GM would say, "What do you do?" I don't, the latter. The interpretation is handed either to the player or the GM. So let's say the interpretation is handed to me. I interpret the dice. I go, "Well, I succeeded, so I made the jump." And then the latter of whom, that being the GM, will almost always then ask, "What do you do?" Hmm. Why? Hmm. Quantum Hub. We're just jumping all over the place here. Okay, Quantum Hub. Size may vary. Personal transceivers. Quantum Hub. The most important piece of equipment to the team is the Quantum Hub, the puck-like device that is linked to everyone's personal transceivers. Generally speaking, as long as the Lancers are close enough to the Quantum Hub, then everyone can lance the next Earth without damaging the continuum. There are actually 3 possibilities for Lancer when the Quantum Hub itself makes Fluxfall. I don't know what any of this means yet. The Lancer is within 10 feet of the device wearing their belt transceivers. Okay. Which we see the picture. So we have a little personal transceiver that's on our belt. And we have this, it has a handle on it, this big one. So kind of looks like a Sega Genesis. Kind of funny. This big thing that is sort of, it's just the technology that makes it possible. We're within 10 feet of it, we've got our belts on. So if that's the case, they lance to the next Earth. They sustain no harm or penalties, nor do they cause harm to the continuum. If you're not within 10 feet of the device, but still wearing your transceiver, they lance through to the next Earth, but they sustain 1 condition and inflict 1 point of damage to the continuum. Okay. The Lancer is anywhere and not wearing their belt transceiver. They don't lance to the next Earth. Quantum Hub and everyone's personal transceivers are the only things that can get them home. In the fiction of the game, these devices are extremely difficult to destroy. They are shielded by quantum fields that even the brilliant minds back at Chronocore only half understand. I don't know anything about Chronocore. Is that who I work for? Okay. But by default, the hub device is malfunctioning constantly. Otherwise, the team would have lanced back home and the first time, and both the hub and the personal transceiver should always be in a state of getting lost, stolen, or held hostage. More on this subject in the running the game chapter. So again, like, I only get really I am understanding this, but I'm only getting it because I know how the system works already, more or less, and I know how the typical sort of adventure of the week format of something like Quantum Leap or again Sliders is going to be. It's always going to be, oh gosh, we're not going to make it. It's like, oh, in the last 2 minutes we make it. Otherwise, I would be completely confused. Tinkering with these flux text devices is difficult. If there is any damage to the continuum at any given time, then a big indicator, okay, on the quantum hub glows red, meaning it is locked out from virtually any possibility of lancing home. This means that quantum damage needs to be at 0 in order for the flux tech to initiate a lance home, even if a tinker with flux text roll yields a success. So I'm just going to say this right now. This is horribly organized. This is terribly organized. We're throwing concepts out here, rules, mechanics. I don't know what I don't know what the company, the Chrono Core. It's like all the ingredients are kind of here, maybe, and they're just randomly being put on pages in a random order. The put right. At every new Earth the Lancers visit. See, all these concepts should have been introduced it should have been like, it could almost like a glossary. It's like Chronocore, the company that has dispatched you to parallel Earths. The put right, the thing that you need to put right. Okay, I got it. Reference this page again if you get confused. Whatever. The put right. At every new Earth the Lancers visit, there's a local problem or issue that presents itself. The scope of the problem can be as small as a town's election or as big as the fate of the planet. But each of these problems have several things in common. The team is informed of the common goal on the quantum hub. It is spelled out, maybe cryptically. So the quantum hub obviously has, as we can see in the picture, a little screen or something. The main NPCs are preoccupied or deeply affected by the issue. The issue is a threat to the goals and or safety of the team. The team has the ability or means to address or solve the issue. Okay, yeah, so it's a scenario, it's a plot, it's some kind of conflict. It's something you can actually do in the game. Got it. And the examples we have here is help the Visayan in red. Don't let the inventor achieve flight. Survive. Okay. The shared goal is referred to as the put right. By putting things right, what might go wrong, the team solves the immediate issue at hand and triggers a good Fluxfall at the time of their convenience. What did the hub say first? Before the Lancers make their first jump, the Quantum Hub's readout doesn't necessarily give them put right statement they will be using. Instead, it will often just show the routine messaging as entered by Chronocore or whoever is running the original mission, which is instantly derailed upon the lance. Which is what? Okay, so you already have a mission. They want you to do something. Well, what is that? And that doesn't matter, I guess. You don't need to worry about that. Special okay, so here we go. Why isn't this in the beginning? Special terms: Fluxfall, a leap, a jump, a lance from one version of Earth to the next. Flux technology, which is used. This is page 7. Okay, Fluxfall Horizon. When a quantum hub activates, again, you gotta tell me what a quantum hub is first. It creates a hazy sphere with a 10-foot radius. This zone is called the Fluxfall Horizon, and anyone within it who also has a personal transceiver will lance to the next destination without harming the continuum or themselves. Continuum, a concept encompassing all universes, prime and alternate. It is both a living entity in itself, which can sustain and recover from harm. It also decides the team's goal or put writing. Okay, so there is a sapient or sentient living cosmos that's telling you, fix this, take care of this, put it right. Okay, good to know. Lancer, a person who uses flux text to lance from one parallel Earth to another. Quantum Hub, a puck-shaped flux tech device that is required to transport people from one parallel Earth to another. Personal transceiver, a smaller flux text device, is required in conjunction with the quantum hub in order to traverse parallel Earths. How many different times can we say that? I don't know. Okay, what are the chances? Another big fiction baked into the backdrop of Fluxfall Horizons that Lancers never drop into a version of Earth that is instantaneously deadly, or one that is so topsy-turvy that there can't be any meaningful interaction with anything. So the implication here would be that the continuum's doing that, right? Because if it's a sentient thing, it's decided it's not it's preventing that from happening, sending them where they're needed, right? Okay. Aren't there infinite parallel universes? The notion that Lancers keep landing in Earths that are just different enough to be potentially interesting in a primetime episodic network TV sort of way is a bit too coincidental. The explanation is simple. Chronocore, the chief developers of Lancing Technologies, identified that there were infinite Earths to visit, but their brilliant scientists were able to calibrate the Lance navigation algorithm to only adjacent Earths. These are pillars that share an extremely high percentage. So what, a millionth or something percent, 0.0 millionth of quantum reference points as home Earth. There were several reasons for this: safety, general subatomic parameters needed to match to ensure organ integrity. Okay, not to mention oxygen, nitrogen levels in the atmosphere and other creature comforts. I'd imagine also diseases and a million different things. Safety paves the way for resource extraction. Safety paves the way for strategic extraction of various resources from other Earths. Entertainment. All tourist Lancers require some baseline of familiarity in their paid otherworldly experience. Okay. Harming the continuum. The continuum, the abstraction, another typo, I guess. The abstraction of the continuum. An abstraction of a living, breathing cosmic metapresence can take damage in a couple of ways. The damage starts at 0. Well, so in other words, there is no damage, right? And there are 2 ways for the continuum to sustain damage. Bad tinker with flux text roll, which I guess is a move. Lancers may want to make rolls with this move in order to change the situation out of desperation, but a failure or partial success will trigger a Fluxfall and lead to a point of continuum damage. Number 2, outside the Fluxfall horizon. Any Lancer with a transceiver outside the 10-foot radius of the quantum hub at the time of Fluxfall will take a condition and cause a point of continuum damage, which we read before when we didn't know what those things were. The GM tracks continuum damage, which ranges from 0 to 10. Each time continuum damage is sustained, a complication occurs. Complications range from situational alterations in the world around them to a change in the Lancer's stats or gear. So I'm assuming reality changes somehow. Complications are a result of the Lancers actually leaving their current Earth and arriving in a new. So part of the problem here is in describing things is we're not being told in the fiction, in the narrative, what's happening. Like what is happening when the continuum takes damage. Oh, reality is changing, whatever. Describe it and then give us the mechanical justification of that or consequence of that or whatever you want to call it. Complications are the result of the Lancers actually leaving their current Earth and arriving in a new adjacent parallel Earth that has slightly worse or different parameters. Okay. So when the continuum takes damage, it moves you to an adjacent parallel Earth? Like, I don't know. Is it sort of spitting you out of that reality? Like why? Like, what is that? Like, we still don't know really what that means. Complications as a result of the Lancers actually leaving their current Earth and arriving in new adjacent parallels with slightly worse or different parameters. Okay. On the 10th and final point of damage to the continuum, the quantum hub explodes, implodes, or otherwise clearly and permanently loses its ability to function. Okay. The continuum's mind. The continuum acts for and against the Lancers. It is trying to guide their actions towards certain outcomes. Okay, so it's fully sentient. Okay. On one hand, it will make the situation worse and worse when it is being abused by the misuse of the flux tech. On the other hand, it will reward Lancers in its own way for arranging reality the way it sees fit via the put rights. Okay. Healing the continuum. Points of continuum damage can be removed effectively. Healing the damage. There is only one way to do this, the put right. With a successful put right, the continuum will heal a point at the time of the trigger or moment that the goal is accomplished. It does not immediately trigger a Fluxfall. Lancers remain on the parallel Earth where they solve the problem. A completed put right does a few things. Removes 1 damage. Each Lancer gains 1 XP. The Quantum Hub will prompt the Lancers to initiate the next Fluxfall. After this voluntary Fluxfall is completed, 1 active complication is reversed or removed. Okay. The next put right. A new put right is generated and displayed in the Quantum Hub as soon as the above described Fluxfall is completed. Okay, so basically you get a little reprieve if you manage to solve whatever problem the continuum asks you to solve, and you don't have to just immediately get whisked off to some other reality and be forced to have another put right. Oh, we start to get stats and rules already. Okay, moves. Okay. I feel like we should have had this before. I don't know. Okay, we're just going to kind of gloss over some of this. We've got power, movement, mental tech, flux tech. This is your understanding of the technology. Got some cool looking characters there. Don't really know anything about the world they come from. They'd be kind of difficult to play, don't you think? Like these people come from, what was it, 2360 or something? We kind of want to know what kind of world maybe they come from. And then we have moves, how die rolls work, dive into danger, sneakaroo, persuade, demystify, different moves and outcomes. Best your double, doppel. Doubles and doppels. Okay, so we have the move before we know what they are, I guess. Lancers may encounter counterparts, copies of themselves. Not really copies, we're just parallel versions. Those who are good-hearted are generally called doubles. Those with sinister intentions are called doppels. So dive into danger, sneakery, persuade, and demystify moves. Specifically exclude doubles or doppels as a target. Best your double or doppel handles all adversarial actions against a Lancer's copy. Since the continuum is weird, trying and failing to best one's own counterpart creates friction in the continuum. Thus, success failure in these actions require their own move. Innovate, recover, tinker with flux tech. Meta moves. Flashback, prayer to the void, give a continuum coin. Okay. Condition, we have our conditions. So obviously like getting wounded. Advancement. Disentanglement. Quantum advances. XP. Death. When the hub lances. Good lances. Bad lances. All the results of that. Oh, we get to create a character now after all that. Okay. So we've got corporate, military, scientist, navigator, civilian. So you could play tourists. Yeah, see, I would like to know a little more about that world. I think it'd be reasonable. Got our secret objectives. Oh, we don't have like a list of those? You can roll for it. Choose it from the table on the... Oh, I missed it. Table on a type... Oh. Is there a table? Do we not... Maybe we haven't encountered that table yet. Okay, maybe a page anywhere would be good too. Alright. Fill stats, GC specials. Got connections, relationships, gear, or ideal, goal. So is this? Oh, okay. So here's the types. Again, I just feel like this is all out of order. We should have had this when we were selecting our types before. We should have just had these in order, or just flip through them. Maybe with some art would be cool too. So let's just look at the corporate and see what kind of secret objectives. Collect evidence of Chronocore rules violations by every member of the team. Okay, so there's snitch. All right. Procure an important local cultural or tribal artifact without getting in trouble. Uncover a key secret of the Order of the Continuum. Okay. Uncover important secret intel from a military team member. Prevent a put right from happening right at the last moment. Obtain an Order of the Continuum special gear item. All right. So it's kind of all right. It's kind of interesting. Again, I think context would really help with this. You can read a lot into it, but I don't know. I just like this is where you could have put all the world building stuff. I think, and all these types and subtypes. Could have told us something about Chronocore and the world they live in. Is this we've got this weird mix of characters, corporate and military. Like what military? Are they Chronocore military? They work for government. Because there sort of conflict there between. Is the government trying to exploit these parallels? Militarily want to set up bases, or who knows? There's I don't know. So let's look. Okay, so military secret objectives: start an armed conflict where there wouldn't have been one. Why? Weaponize a mundane technology and share it. Personally command a people's highest military leaders. Doesn't even make sense. Personally command a people's. Leave a lasting mark on the environment. Kill or capture a doppel. Kill or capture a threat. Terra Novian, Weaver, Visayan, Containment. Okay, so it's aliens or something. Okay, I don't know. So we've got all kinds of different types and subtypes. Scientists. A lot of these secret objectives don't seem to be very they're not they're kind of bad. They're unethical. That's the ones I've seen so far. Running the game. Okay, so this is the GM section. Okay. All right. I think the biggest problem with this, I'm not a big fan of the PBTA system, but it's fine. Like if you like it, it's probably just you could probably just jump into this game pretty easily. Um, biggest problem is just how it's presented. Kind of jumping all over the place and like not being very concise, really clunky the way it's written. Yeah. Got a bunch of tables, complications. Tables are always nice, especially since this is supposed to be just sort of a little more off the cuff. Oh, there's a scenario in here, so fit right generator. Okay, NPC generator. Threats, weavers. See, things like this I think should have been mentioned early on, unless it's really meant to be a secret. I suppose it could be, but it is mentioned in the. I mean, if a character has it as a secret objective, they would know what it is, right? Instead of like terrible spider people, dinosaurs, things from Earths that are a little more off the beaten track, I would assume. We got a third-party license, and that's it. Okay. So I suppose the scenario must be in the completed version, the commercial version. Oh no, this is it. I just went past it. Oh, okay. So concept. Lancers are thrust into an Earth where the dinosaurs rule and human civilization never thrived. But their problems are more than just about survival as they uncover the incredible truth behind the Mesozoic-like conditions of the planet. Okay. How to run it. They give you the setup. This probably gives a better idea of how it's expected to be structured since it seems to be more practical. Initial impressions, ongoing local event, temporal deviation, and then our characters. Okay, so it's pretty loose. It looks like just a few NPCs, dino terms to throw around, locations of interest. Okay. So yeah, looks like it's actually just pretty loose. It's not. I thought kind of expected something a little more linear. Okay, well, I think that's all I have to say about that. It's definitely needed an editor. I think it's kind of like almost seems like stream of consciousness. So again, probably totally workable if you have a operating knowledge of and you like things like Quantum Leap and sliders. Anyway, thanks for listening. See you on the next one.